6:30, and I would like to call this meeting of the Library Board to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Robin Barker.
Here.
Cheryl Bigelow.
Here.
Judy Bory is absent. Barbara Fitzgerald.
Present.
Cheryl Hall.
Present.
Catherine Meek.
Here.
And Vera Walters is also absent, and we have a quorum.
Cool. All right. Has everybody looked at the agenda and the minutes from the prior two meetings? Yes, we can combine that motion for both the agenda and the minutes. So do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Robin Barker.
Yes?
Cheryl Bigelow.
Yes.
Judy Bory is absent. Barbara Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Cheryl Hall.
Yes.
Catherine Meek.
Yes.
And Vera Walters is absent, and the motion passes.
Thank you, thank you. And seeing as our public is invisible tonight, we will move on past that. Do we have any correspondence at this time?
No, we do not.
Nobody's writing. Wow, we're in trouble. All right, may we have the library's report, please?
Hey, good evening. Pam Harrison, Library Director, and I'm pleased to present to you tonight's Librarian's Report. As usual, going over our stats for the last couple of months. Very consistent. Totals going up in our programs over the summer, as we talked about prior to this meeting, about how many programs we have going on and how we didn't know how we were going to do them all through the summer months, but they did do them all. And as you can see, the stats for June, programs were 3886 with 150 programs. And then in July, it was just slightly less at 3212 with 132 programs.
That's amazing.
Yes, very amazing.
That's really cool.
And then to show you kind of a side-by-side of this year versus last year's summer reading program, we will see increases in every aspect of the program. So the blue is 2023, the yellow is 2024, and our number of registrants, as you can see, was up almost a third. Where it was a 40% increase from last year, excuse me. And then finishers, we had 69% more people finish the program, which entitled them to, of course, get that free book from our book fair. And here is a more detailed look across the different age brackets for the program. Adults, 44% increase. Teens was the biggest increase of 57%, which is great. Kids, 46%, and preschoolers, 54%. And this is a look at the more details of the finishers, and they're all just spectacular. We couldn't ask for better turnout for this program this year. The staff really went all out to make sure that we had programs that met every age, that every interest. And we had, of course, the program isn't all about programs, it's about reading, and it's about checking out books. And our Circ stats also showed that we had great increases in June and July, even more than from last year. So we're really excited that it seems like we're back on track again after the pandemic. We had a few lower years, just like everyone else. But we're just really happy that everything seems to be creeping back up to what we used to know as the normal levels. And here is our programs in attendance. So we did slightly less programs this year. It's hard to see the number down here, but it's slightly less than it was last year. However, our attendees that came to the programs increased. So that's exactly what we want to see, getting more bang for our buck. And here's a little recap on a couple of the events that we didn't get to talk about at the last meetings. One was the magic show. There were actually two performances of the magic show, and this gentleman, I failed to write down his name, or the name of his company, but I did catch a few minutes of his magic show, and he was really engaging, really funny, and the kids just adored it. As you can see, he brings volunteers up to participate, and he tries to incorporate science, technology, engineering, and math into to what he does to make it not only fun but educational. The Bridgerton Tea was a very lovely event. As you can see, we had both men and women participate, and they dressed up in period garb. You'll see a couple library employees that attended that had that as their day off. I don't know if they took the day off purposely, but they had a lot of fun learning the dances, and they had a naming system where when everybody that showed up, they had to do something with the first initial or the last initial of their name, and it came up with this, fancy name for them. So they had a lot of good time and had, of course, a lot of good food. And this last picture, it's a little unusual because it's actually from our security camera, but I was asking staff, I wasn't here on the day that Chris Jackson, our audiovisual specialist, had the intro to 3D printing program. And so I said, how many people showed up for that? And they're like, 16 teenagers showed up to that, which is great. And they're like, yeah, they were like in a little line and they were walking past the desk. So I look on the security camera and sure enough, he's got them in tow and they're just like little soldiers following him. They were so engaged in the 3D printer. And he taught them a lot about, what kind of files it use and like how long it takes to print and show them how the machine works. And so I just thought that was the coolest picture. So I just wanted to share that with you. All the kids, you can see them smiling back there and just being very into the program.
Oh, look at the smiles.
So if you were on Facebook, you may have seen this was posted at the end of July. It was a very short 5-second reel on Facebook, Instagram, showing these three lovely ladies, our three Megans. We have Megan Sparks on the left, Megan Robles in the middle, and then, of course, Megan Carbiner on the right. I did not know there was a National Megan Day until I saw this. So I had to look it up. National Megan Day is on July 20th. It became a thing in 2016. And if you haven't seen the reel and you're on Facebook, go back to our Apache Junction Public Library page and scroll down a couple weeks, and you'll see this little 5-minute or 5-second clip of our photographer, our videographer, going up to our newest librarian, Jason Kirchhoffer, and saying, I need help. I forgot what exactly they said, but they need help. And he was like, oh, well, you need to go see, I know that they said, I'm here to see the Megan with the brown hair and the glasses. That was what it was. Right. And he was like, oh, they're right over there. And then the camera pans and they're standing there and they're all waving. And there was this cute little music at the end. It was just perfect. So you're not going to believe how many people watched this video, this 5-second video. It reached 46,000 people. I just checked this right before the meeting.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was played 80,800 times.
Oh.
All about Megan Day. So,
That's very cool.
so we just love it. They do such great things, our
Whatever
social
it
media
takes to
people.
bring attention to the library.
Exactly, yes. And I'm sure somebody has probably copied it at some other library by now. But so you need to look up to see if you have a day. I have a day. It's coming up, I think, in September.
Really?
Yes, I forgot the date already.
What do you do? Just Google Megan's Day? Or
Or you'll look up your day. You can Google National Cheryl Day and see if there's a day for that. There should be.
There is
I don't.
It's every day. I'll just tell you that right now.
So yeah, so that was National Megan Day. So I think that's going to be a thing from now
Well,
on.
not every library is blessed with more than one Megan.
It is true.
So this just makes it all the better.
That is so true. Yeah. At first we're like, oh, we have 3 Megans. And the funny thing too is that since I've worked at the library now, I just had my 10-year anniversary last month. We had 2 other Megans within the last 10 years
Yes.
that no longer work there, but can you imagine if we had 5 Megans?
Oh, that would be so awesome. That would be awesome.
I know. The only problem was the other 2 didn't wear glasses, but we could have doctored it up.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so there's National Megan Day.
I love it.
And another milestone,
TJ.
this was the
Saw that.
most, for this past month, this was the highest engaged with post on Facebook for the library, and it was thousands and thousands of
Wow.
engagements and posts and reposts and shares. So this is TJ Watkins, 40 years of service with the city. He got presented his award at a staff meeting a couple weeks ago. He worked, starting obviously in 1984, with the police department, where he worked for 23 years. And then we were lucky enough to get him over at the library for the last 17 years. So I think he was totally surprised, because of course we didn't tell him. And I had a box with, like a banker's box with a top on it. And we got him a balloon and of course food. But in the box was this award with the balloon, congratulations balloon, tied to it. So we opened the top of the box, the balloon popped up, and then we brought up his award and in front of all the staff. And we all got to say nice things about him because he's the nicest guy. And I tell everybody this, but I would say at least 25% of the people that come into the library on a regular basis come just to see TJ.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Yes. I will see him talking to people almost every hour, and they'll stand there and talk to him for like 20 minutes. And he just listens to everybody, and he's so friendly and just cares about everybody, and he's a great security guard. I mean, we're so blessed to have him. So that is TJ's award, and I'm not sure, I meant to look on the plaque out here in the lobby to see how many people have reached 40. I want to say it's only 1 or 2 other people. Yeah, we'll have to look, but, so his name will be added if it hasn't already, and if you see TJ, which I'm sure you will, because you're going to come to the library, and he's always there with a smile.
Gee, I remember when he started.
Do you?
I remember when he first started at the PD. Wow, was that 40 years ago? Oh, my God.
I'm sorry, yes, that is accurate.
Holy heck.
Yeah, 40 years ago. He couldn't even believe it. I was like, you got an award coming. He's like, I do. And I'm like, 40 years? He goes, 40 years?
No way. Nah,
He was
you
trying to
guys
do the math, and he
You
just,
guys miscalculated. That's all there is to it.
yeah.
Wow.
so congrats to TJ. We hope we have you several more years.
Oh, yeah.
Great guy, great guard. I asked Megan Carbiner to do a report for us that I could share with you today about what does library outreach look like in the summer in Arizona? Because we all know it's reached 117, 118 degrees during the summer this far. We haven't seen anything under 100 in months. So I kind of wanted her to show what exactly does the outreach department do when it's this hot. And so this is what she came up with, and it's, I'm going to read it to you too because there's a lot going on here. So they always go to Little Prospect or preschool throughout the whole year, but they increase the amount of times they go there to do story times and checkouts because of their increased summer attendance at the preschool. Brookdale Senior Living is also another place we always go to, but they continued their monthly stop at Brookdale Senior Living through the lobby stops. That's the new name during the summer. So they bring basically the books and the program into the lobby so that these folks don't have to go out in the heat. And in that picture, you'll see Dennis Harpool, who's one of our computer lab techs. He actually went and did a class and taught them some things about using the computer and probably using some of our digital resources from the library. And then down here at the bottom, they also did a gardening workshop with seeds to check out from the mobile seed library. So there's Megan and Cheryl, who's one of her library assistants, working with the seeds and doing some gardening with the folks there at Brookdale. And of course, she always goes to the pool, Superstition Stratos Aquatic Center, bring the mobile library. It's hot. It's hot, but they make the best of it. They've got the canopy up, sit in the shade, and as you can see, the kids still come on, want to check out books, and parents and so forth. Because just because it's hot doesn't mean you don't want to read. Then we've got Silly Mountain, where they did a first Sunset Stories program, and participants of all ages walked a choose your own story trail and received adventure packs and visited the mobile library. Make sure I didn't skip a page. And then at the end of the summer, they were really focused on getting over to the schools. One of our biggest goals that we've had with this 3-year strategic plan is to partner more with the schools. And to be able to partner with them, you need to go over there. You need to, meet the kids, meet the teachers, and tell them about everything we have, and to be persistent. Because they're busier probably than we are, and it's sometimes a difficult challenge to get in the door. So they went there before summer reading to talk to all the kids about the summer reading program and all the free prizes they could get for reading over the summer and all the different fun programs that were going to happen. And then they also did some tables during lunch periods at the high school. And it says, before the 2024-25 school year started, they visited every school in Apache Junction Unified School District to present about our student library card program and share resources and services with faculty and staff. So this is a thing that we started, if you might recall, a couple of years ago with the student library cards, and actually today, our Pinal County Library District was successful in uploading the new students for this school year into our circulation system, and it worked without a hitch. It was perfect. We didn't have to go back and forth 25 times. Everything's in there, and this just allows the kids to be able to come into the library, check out a few items, even if they don't have a library card, because they have a student library card, and it uses their student number as their barcode. And then they can also do all the digital downloads from home or at school. So it's a program that we really want parents and teachers alike to know about. And they also went to 5 Meet the Teacher nights at the schools, and they also went to several, I don't think she put this in here. Yes, she did. They went to staff meetings where they got to talk to the teachers in a smaller setting and really talk about what the student library program, the student library card program does. So just because it was hot doesn't mean that they were not busy. They were just as busy as all of us inside the building. And then here's a list of the statistics. They did 14 mobile library stops in the summer of June and July. Saw 420 people inside the mobile library, 1,900 at school outreach attendance at their assemblies, 145 at staff meetings, and 591 students, parents, and teachers at the teacher nights.
That's sweet.
So yeah, Megan and her team are doing an outstanding job, and we're just really thrilled and astonished at what they're able to accomplish. And that
so-
is it for the librarian's report.
I think it's very cool that, what was it, 2 years ago, that I think it was Judy brought up the need for the student library card. And all of this has worked out to the point that now they're presenting it to everyone. The cards are now uploaded into the system, and that's amazing.
Did you mean Judy Borey?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's amazing.
We've
Good
accomplished a
work.
lot.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're really proud of it. We're, just trying to get the word of mouth out there. That's the hardest part, letting people know that it's out there and what they can do with it. They'll be like, oh, okay, so the kids have a library card. Well, we don't go to the library, so what else can they do? Well, there's so many things that you don't need to come into the library to do anymore. Of course, we want you to come visit, but they can, there's so many different digital products that have everything from test prep for students to leisure reading to, universal class where they can take courses on everything from hobbies to computer, how to use different things. There's just so much.
There's even an Excel class on Universal.
They do.
There is. I know. I have in it, but I don't have time to do it, but I'm going to make myself have time to do it.
Okay. Well, at least it's self-paced, so you can do it when you get a 3 seconds in your life. I know. Do you sleep?
Occasionally.
Occasionally. So that's the end of the librarian's report. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you so much. Anyone else have questions, comments, accolades, gripes? No gripes, well, I knew that, that's why I put it last. All right, do we have any old business?
No, we do not.
Okay, then let us move on to new business, where we have a discussion of some changes to the procedural manual.
Yeah, so this is the table of contents page for our procedures manual. And over the years, we've gradually been updating a lot of our procedures so that they're more in line with libraries as they are today. So the ones that I want to talk to you about, at least for this agenda item, is the first one, requirements to obtain a library card. So this is the page where it tells you like what you need to bring in terms of photo ID, how you prove your address, if you're not in Pinal County, what happens. But the one I wanted to pay attention to or put your attention to is which would now be number 5. The old language for this reads, a parent legal guardian may not apply for a card for his or her child if the parent or guardian owes more than $5 on his or her own card. What I'm posing is to change that last part to read, if a parent or guardian has a library account that has been referred for collection. So let me explain a little bit. When we had fines way long ago, which they got eliminated back in 2020, it was 10 cents a day for books, $1 per day for DVDs. So there was an opportunity there for people to accrue fines. Luckily, we don't have that anymore. So the only way really for a person to get $5 or more on his or her own card is to lose an item or have to pay for damages. So what I'm posing here is that to reduce barriers, especially for youth, which is exactly who we want to get into the library, get them in the routine of coming to the libraries and the routines of reading, to not penalize the child for something a parent may have done years ago, like lose a book, and decided, I'm not going to pay that right now. I have to put food on the table. And if that happens, then that's penalizing the kid because then he or she can't get a card. And we've seen this happen, and it's just always put a bad taste in my mouth and just doesn't feel right because it's totally going against what libraries are about. If we do change this to the wording that when a library account has been referred for collection, what that means is that the account would have to have $50 or more total fees on the account. So even if they lost one book and the book cost $19.99, we would still allow the child to get a card. And there's no books anymore that cost $5 less. It's just saying. So at least then that allows some families to be able to get their kids cards and to kind of avoid this history that we have of you made a mistake once, and now if you can't afford it, we're never going to have you back in the library to check out materials. So like I said, to get referred to collections, your account has to have $50 or more, and that's when it gets referred to the collection agency, and they add that $11 fee that we also charge the patron, and then it gets paid back to the collection agency.
So how often does that happen? Is this like once or twice a year? Is it happening more frequently than that?
Of what happening?
Of somebody being referred to collections?
Oh, we have people referred to collections. It happens on a monthly basis. I I can't tell you, I would have to look at the reports a little more carefully. It's not, it's not hundreds. I wouldn't even say it's, I'd say it's probably between, I think the most I've ever seen it be is like 20 people at one time. Because sometimes when people move, they forget, they have books and they get packed in a box. And sometimes, people will have, 10, 15 books or DVDs that they forget to return. But the good thing is if they find those items and they return them, all of the fees come off the account.
Right.
Except for that collection agency fee. Once that's on there, we can't remove it due to our agreement with the collection agency. So even if that was the only fee on the account, if we go ahead with this new wording, at least kids could still get the card. Right. All they need to do is either bring back the books, or if they lost a lot of them, there would be, this would be the time when there's at least a repercussion for losing that many at once.
Right. Okay, thank you.
I'm curious about whether you have ever seen a pattern of people who intentionally don't respond to the paying for something, and it seems almost like their pattern of behavior is to, well, it's your problem, not mine, if I've borrowed something, and whether or not that would transfer over into their children. Have you ever seen it? I have no idea whether you have any problems.
So you're
like that.
saying if a patron checked out something and intentionally was like, I'm not going to return this
Yeah, it's just,
because it was something they wanted to keep?
something they wanted to keep, or, they sold it, or they lost it, and they just don't feel responsible for it. Like they shouldn't have to do it, so they don't.
And then you're asking if that gets carried over
To the kids.
to the
you know,
kids?
The kids have that same behavior. They see that.
I mean, I can't say
That's a
for
lot to
sure.
monitor.
Yeah,
No,
I
no.
can't say for sure, but I would assume that, and it has to happen sometimes. I mean, kids learn from, the actions of their parents, and of course, that's not something that, we want to teach them.
Right.
I mean, we do have people that check out things and don't return, and I'm sure they keep them because it was something they wanted, and they don't care that they can't check out again.
Do you have repeat offenders? Once they've cleared collections, they do it again?
I can't tell you for sure, but I would have to say that there has to be some. I mean, we have 28,000 active cold card holders, so
Well, how
Yeah.
could you have a repeat offender? Because if they're in collections, they're in collections. They can't use the library anymore.
unless they paid,
Unless
unless they
Under
pay that fee, yeah.
$50,
Yeah,
Clear it
you
and
know,
then
it could be
turn around
just a
again.
single book.
right.
Just, I see that behavior
Interesting
around,
thought.
so I'm just
Sad,
curious.
but
Oh, sure,
interesting.
'cause,
Mm-hmm.
kids learn from their parents, right?
Any other questions on this particular part of it? Okay, Sanchi, do we want to vote on these individually, or do we want to vote on them as a unit? Because one is revisions and the other is an addition.
Right, and aren't they, yeah, they're two separate items on the,
Okay, so
new
let's,
business,
let's
so-
get a motion for the revisions to the library procedure manual, please.
I motion to accept the recommended adjustments to the procedural manual.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Robin Barker,
Yes?
Cheryl Bigelow,
Yes.
Judy Bory is absent, Barbara Fitzgerald,
Yes,
Cheryl Hall,
Yes.
Catherine Meek,
Yes.
and Vera Walters is absent. Motion passes.
Thank you. And to the second part of this, the addition of the local author collection.
Yes, thank you. So you'll see on the table of contents that a potential page 9 and page 10 have been added or changed to reflect the possibility of having a new procedure about our local author collection. The local author collection is actually not a new collection. It's already been established. Just like any other collection in the library, it has to be maintained. And just like any other collection in the library, we feel that it needs to have a specific selection process to keep it fresh and to keep it from possibly having items in it that really don't go with the values and the mission of what the library is trying to achieve. So for the local author collection, I'm trying to find it. I'm almost there. There we
There you
go. So the purpose of this collection would be to make it more defined on what materials would be accepted into it, how they would be evaluated, and then what would happen to the materials over a period of time. And this all came about primarily because of our new librarian, Jason. He is very in tune with collection management and development, and just over the last few months he's been here, he's pretty much taken a fine-tooth comb and looked at almost every collection in our library so far and has seen some areas where he feels there should be improvements or changes, and as they're brought up, I would have to say that all of us librarians agree with him, seeing the things that he's proposing. So on this one, what we would be doing is taking that current collection, going through it, and ensuring that all the materials are actually local authors that have an active and current community connection with the state of Arizona. Currently, we have, from what he's told me, things in there that some are about events or places in Arizona, but not necessarily written by somebody who is from Arizona or who resides in Arizona. Some had some thematic connections to Arizona, also not really authored by somebody from Arizona. And he said there was actually some in there that he couldn't find any connection to Arizona. Just to be honest.
Cactus in it.
So what we're proposing is to have these clear guidelines where people know when it is appropriate for them to request that we introduce a written work of theirs into our local author collection. So the author must currently reside in Arizona, and of course we would take into account if that person is a part-time resident and not necessarily a full-time resident. The books need to be professionally printed and bound, so no curly Q bindings or spiral bindings, whatever they call them, or what he has written in this as to be consumable books. Submissions must be a donation to the library, and they'll become our property of the library and the city to do with as we see fit with our policies. Also need to add in there that over time, materials are always reviewed. They might not be relevant anymore, they might not be popular anymore, and then in some cases, they're going to be withdrawn because we can't hold every book that is ever donated to us. So they would have to agree that the books would not be returned to them, that they would just go through our normal deselection and withdrawal process. Local materials are not accepted for addition to the collection. They may be given to the friends to be sold or recycled if appropriate, if they're in bad wear and tear. And a lot of the times we get people, local authors, that come in with their book, want to tell us about it, and of course we're very interested. We want to be very supportive of creative works by our local authors because we have a lot of them in this area. But sometimes we know that people are expecting that we're going to provide a platform for them to either sell their book or to do a presentation on their book, and that isn't always a good fit. So this would also let them know that we're not obligated to promote their book in any way or provide them with that platform. And then it would end with this submission form, which is very simple with their information, the book information, what the audience would be, because that could depend on where it would be shelved in the library. And then they can either bring it into us in person or they can mail it, just knowing that if we don't accept it, that we don't mail anything back or give anything back if it's been left with us. So that is the proposed procedure in a nutshell. And I know I talked to Robin on the way in and she had a suggestion, so I guess we'll start with that.
Oh, okay. Under the take note of the following, it says that each item must contribute to the education and enjoyment of the community. And it seems to me that not all books are both educational and enjoyable. Therefore, I would like to see it say and or.
And I think that is a very easy fix to make, and I think it makes sense. So that is not an issue on our end for sure, because that is very subjective.
And actually, the entire thing is very subjective because the decision of whether this is entertaining or educational is a pretty subjective decision. You know,
True.
when you come right down to it. So I'm trying to give them half a chance here.
Understood.
Any other comments?
I had a question. Do we think that there's any likelihood that we would ever have maybe a local author that, as part of a will, they might will the library their collection of their personal works? Would that fall into this, or would that be managed in a different way?
Probably go to Friends of the Library.
I would probably have to consult with city attorney on that, just to see what, I would assume there would have to be some sort of process we would have to go through. I don't know, and then I don't know if this would, I'm assuming that would supersede this, if there is something. And I'm assuming since a will is a legal document, that we would have to go through that, but I don't, that's a great question. And I'm not a lawyer.
I could see it either
If the
being
person-
somebody who is local and says, hey, I've enjoyed the library, I want to give my works that I've written
And
to the
if they're
library.
bound, and
Yeah,
if the
yeah.
person lived here, it answers the criteria that was set.
Except it says currently resides, which,
Well,
which,
But the question comes to, does it fit our selection policy?
yeah.
Right.
I don't know whether the current, you bring up a good point, current residing, active and current.
The
What
author must
if,
currently reside
what
or-
if a person has written a book and that person has in fact passed away, but was very active in the community prior to their passing away? Would that not be acceptable because they are dead? To be blunt.
Well, I guess if that
We have
happens,
lots
we'd
of
ha-
dead
we'd have to
authors.
go
I-
to
yeah,
the
yeah.
language.
More recently.
I think it would have to be on a case-by-case basis. I mean,
Yeah, I
I don't
think
think
so
we're going to be
too.
that cut and dry.
Yeah.
But I think we're just trying to get the point across that if you don't ever live in Arizona,
Right.
probably,
comprehensible.
yeah, this isn't the right collection for you.
Good question.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Yeah.
Cheryl.
That
Thanks for-
makes me think of the people that grew up here.
Right,
Were
Right.
involved in making some of the
Right.
history, wrote their stuff.
right.
And now, because of health reasons, they're moving to California because that's where their kids are.
Sure.
yeah,
See,
yeah.
we've got, that's a good point too. Those are points that are worth thinking about.
Yeah, so there would be possibly local authors are defined as those with, and we could change the wording perhaps
You might be
to
able to
past.
change the active and current.
Yeah.
Now, you may be able to massage that just enough to fit in some of these circumstances.
something that suggests long-term.
Right,
Yeah, because if they grew up somewhere else, moved here and wrote a book, but they're now living here because they retired.
Well, they're active,
If they're active.
they're
that
current,
would still
so
potentially
they answer
fill
that.
it,
They
so-
can move here yesterday.
So it's
You
more of a,
know, according to this. they
it's
could.
not something I would say would be very frequent, but I could see,
I actually have one.
the heirs of somebody who wrote a number of books who was an Arizona resident, had lived in the community for quite a long time, saying, you know, hey, as part of dealing with my parents' estate, I'd like to be able to donate to the library. This form would, you know, not necessarily meet those needs. And it sounds like maybe because it's a very infrequent thing, working with the city attorney might be the best option.
Yeah, I agree.
Boy, did we give you a lot to think
Yeah.
about on this little tiny thing.
I know. I thought this was going to be like a,
There's always an exception to the rule, and we
Yeah.
always
but you
we're
bring
always
it,
with those.
Whoa. I didn't do it. Mine's off. There.
thank you.
Okay. Whew, I guess that means shut up. I think it's tired of us. All right, do we have any other comments on that particular part of this? Okay, then I would call for a motion on the addition of the local author collection guidelines.
Do we need to have the revised language to add the and/or before we can vote? So I think we might have to
You
table
can
it.
just add "and the revised language."
Okay.
And I guess I would need to know specifically the revised language, if it's just the and/or if you had other language that you felt needed to be
Not at this point.
changed.
Do you anticipate having to look at something like some of the examples we gave and say, well, yeah, we can't accept it because this is against policy? Or would you be able to make an exception at some point due to really strange situations?
I would believe we would make some exceptions that make sense.
I don't
I'm-
think this is cast in concrete.
Exactly. I mean, this is meant to be guidelines,
Okay,
but to make it official is the reason why we would need it in our procedures. But that doesn't mean that those, you know, anomalies aren't, you know, those,
common sense will
yes,
override
prevail,
if needed?
yes, yeah.
Okay,
Hopefully.
Maybe you add a line such as, you know, policy may be adjusted, discretion of the library staff, or, you know, something along those lines. That might cover all of that kind of questionable stuff.
Well, acceptance at the discretion of,
Yeah, we could
The
add that
library
somewhere
staff.
if you'd like to
and
propose
where would
that.
that be, make the most sense to add?
Probably the last sentence.
I
Under
think the last
submission
bullet point under
guidelines?
Submission guidelines.
Very end of it? Okay. Have you got all that, Cheryl? You got and/or under, please take note of the following. And you've got at the discretion of the librarian at the end of the submission guidelines.
Yeah. That's fine.
So add it as an additional bullet?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you want to say what that
Yeah,
wording would be?
acceptance will be at the discretion of the librarian. Or something
Librarian,
similar.
or what is Pam, executive?
We don't want to put it totally
Yeah,
on
you don't wanna
her
put just
shoulders.
one person,
Don't make her
library
be the goat. Yeah, I've seen that happen before. Too specific. Does that make sense? Does that work?
So acceptance will be at the discretion of the library staff?
Yes,
Or-
library
there you go,
staff,
library
thank you.
staff,
That
yeah.
works.
a final acceptance upon discretion or something along those lines?
Yeah. That will work.
And do you care where it goes in the submission guidelines? It might make sense not being at the bottom. I don't know.
No,
I probably read into things too much.
I don't think it
But
matters
as
where
long
it
as it's in
goes,
there somewhere.
As long as it's there, because then it can be referred to if somebody has some kind of complaint.
Okay. So under submission guidelines, final acceptance will be at the discretion of library staff. Does that, well, I'll let you vote on that, but
That would be,
Sounds about
yeah.
right.
That language sounds fine.
So did we actually get a motion here?
No.
no,
Not yet.
No, we're
Okay.
figuring.
we're
out
still
how to
figuring
work
out
it.
language.
I'm just checking. So Cheryl, you still want to make the motion?
Do I still want to make a motion? With Cheryl?
Here, that Cheryl down there.
Oh, okay,
No,
all right.
the chairperson can't make a motion.
So I'm trying
Chair
to remember,
people have
okay,
to
so
keep their
I'd
mouths
like to make a motion that we accept the inclusion of the new local author collection guidelines with the proposed amendments.
Excellent. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and second. May I have a roll call, please?
Robin Barker,
Yes.
Cheryl Bigelow,
Yes.
Judy Bory is absent, Barbara Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Cheryl Hall,
Yes.
Catherine Meek,
Yes.
and Vera Walters is absent, and the motion passes.
Excellent. All right, do we have any future agenda items? Since we ate that one, really chewed on it very nicely.
I did just want to bring up that I do have Judy Bory asked for information about the homeschool statistics, but I knew she wasn't going to be here tonight, so I decided to hold on to that for the next meeting.
Good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, because Judy would like to
Right.
get in on that. Anybody have anything they want brought up? If you think of something between now and the next meeting, please feel free to call Pam.
Yeah, or tell me at the card crawl.
Yeah, that's a good thing, and you will put out some kind of a thing that we can sign up.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we will get something
All right. if
formally
we-
to you.
If we have no further discussion here, I would like to adjourn this meeting at 7:16.